It is unfortunately nearly time to go home. I did say at the beginning of yesterday that I wasn't going to make a long and tedious company presentation, and therefore I asked Sarah to come along and say a few more interesting words. However, having spent 2 days on my 3 days really with the Marquis Forum and having another day tomorrow on technology, I still think it is important for everyone to understand a little bit about what the company is about. Because at the end of the day, well, if you're an academic, it's less important, and of course we have a lot of academic users as well. But for our corporate customers, it does make a difference who you deal with. And we've seen that especially in the sort of changing environment of merger and acquisitions lately, and also in the increasingly changing environment of more open source type software, or lots of younger and newer companies coming up. And we haven't even started to see, from our perspective, competition from, for example, China and India, which I think is also probably going to come up at one point in time. So I do think it's interesting just to say a few words about the company. I was reminiscing with Wendy last night at the bar, propping it up with a glass of Chardonnay, about the first time she and I met 3 years ago. And at that point, I had really just started as CEO and was explaining to Wendy that we were sort of really looking at a phase of transition in the company, that having been sort of all the time a relatively small company, we felt that we had a lot more to offer. And part of our sort of plans for the next few years was indeed to sort of grow the company up, and that might involve some growing pains as we go through our teenage and start into adulthood. Anyway, we have changed a lot as a company in many senses. We've grown a lot in terms of numbers of people. We're up to about 60 people in the permanent staff, plus another 30 people who are, let's say, hired as consultants or other full and part-timers who have their living from ChemAxon. So that's quite a wide community of people. It's still, by global standards of your 30,000 staffed pharma company, a minnow, but in terms of our environment, that's, as a cheminformatics-based company, that's starting to be quite significant. New hires brings new problems in terms of how we work. We used to have a very, very informal way of working, I would say, and that you can do that when you've got 5 or 6 developers. But when you've got 60 people, or actually well, more than that, obviously, from the 90, probably 75 is actually developers. Only about 15 is sales and admin. So it's a very development-driven company. If you've got that many people banging out code, some of the informality disappears, and we're working very much more in scrums, in the whole sort of agile format. That requires a whole new working environment, and now we're starting in Hungary. We're now going to go into a new office. We're going to abandon our house on the hill that I've referred to so often, and actually go into a science park, into an office in November. That creates concerns amongst the staff, even about what's the ethos of the company, and how is the company, and are we the same people that we've always been? And people have always said to me, customers, don't lose the ethos of the company, that informality, that approachableness, that high level of support. So whatever you do, Alex, don't ruin that. And in our discussions in Hungary recently about the office move, there have been discussions about, well, we may lose the ethos of the culture of the company. And my argument would say, well, not really, because the ethos of the company is in the people. And although, of course, new people come, very few people actually leave. And therefore, the core team that's been around on the airport coming over with Mitza and Soboc, we were actually realizing that how many people have started to be with the company for 10 years or more, and how few people have ever left the company. So yes, there's change in the people, but it's addition rather than switching. And the addition, that creates continuity. And that's also good for you guys, because as we'll talk about in a minute, a lot of the importance of our technology is the fact that it's delivered on a common core, which has been developed since '98. And if you look at other companies, they cannot always say that. And not only is it common core, by the way, it's also an uncompromised core. It's all ours. We developed all of it ourselves, and so we're not in any way compromised in that. So I thought it would be useful to say that not only the people, but behind the people is the company values. And so I wanted to express to you just a few things about our core values as I see them. And I say this as much to to our users as I do to our own staff, actually, because we don't often talk about this, and we're not a very corporate company with banging out, mission statements and things. So we haven't really had this discussion a lot with the staff either. But what do I think ChemAxon stands for? So first of all, I think we do stand for quality. I think everybody who's in this room, if I listen to the presentations, we do try to deliver a quality product. It's a good code, it works well, it's continually updated, and it is quality. And quality goes through all the work we do, and that's one of the reasons why we're starting to work in the Scrum techniques, because it is a way of maintaining and monitoring and maintaining quality. We remain customer-orientated. It's the first point, really. It should have been the first point, but it's not really a ranking, but customer is important. So much of what we've ever delivered and developed has come out of customer ideas and collaborations. And there have even been some of the interactions today where we've had a presentation and then someone stood up and saying, can we talk about how we can develop that further together, or how we can use those ideas? So customer is king for us, but the way we deal with the customer is actually in a listening way. We sometimes talk about our innovation being driven by the fact that we listen. So it's a kind of innovation by listening. We're a very transparent organization, internally and externally. Externally, a proof of that, for example, is I think we're the only company in our space who has a public forum for support. So all the support requests go onto the forum and can be seen by anybody else. If you want to know how well we respond to requests or problems, you can go to any forum post, see where the problem was raised, and you can track when it was answered. So it's actually, anybody can see that. No other company does that, because we are quite happy to show people how we work. Internally, all our email systems are designed in a way that any person can actually see the emails of anybody else. Who else is doing that? There's a reason for that. It means that when somebody's off, you can easily find out what they've been doing. But that's a tremendous transparency in a very flat organization, which brings me on to personal and informal. We try to keep it in sort of with lack of status. We're not very hierarchical. We're not very snobby. I think we've seen that in some of the evening sessions we've had here. Part of our, goes back to the customer-orientated. It's the approachableness. It's the same in the office. We don't have thick layers of management. We have, very sort of approachableness and informalness, and we like to keep it that way. We've seen a lot of partners here. We're a very heavily partner-dependent company. We had to be when we were first founded because we were coming behind a lot of other people. So integration is one thing, but now working in partnerships, stuff that we're doing with let's say, higher brand name companies like Thomson Reuters or IDBS or Schrödinger show that. But there are about 35 partners, and there are also much smaller companies that we partner with. So we have a very, very wide range of partners. They form an enormous part of our business and an increasingly growing part of our business. On the kind of results-oriented side, we are actually a highly efficient organization. We keep our costs down. And by keeping the cost down, we can actually push that back to the customer. And we're sort of very value-driven. One point that maybe isn't in there is that we try to offer the customer a value-for-money proposition in terms of mid-term cost of ownership. But we can do that because we're very efficient. 75 out of 90 people are in development. So I don't have huge finance department, huge admin department, big overheads and offices and other things. We travel coach, or we travel, on the cheaper airlines. We share rooms in hotels, all sorts of funny little things, which you might think is quirky, but all part of our informality as well, in order to keep the cost down. It's a kind of still maintaining a small company mentality, and I definitely would like to change that. Still, and apart from the fact that I can't spell, still also results-orientated. I didn't mention, though I should have done, that obviously Ferenc Cismadi is the principal owner of the company, and just one comment on that, intends to remain so. Any rumors that you've heard about us being up for play or being acquired or looking for anyone to acquire us are absolutely not true. We like our independence. It's part of our unique selling point as well, that being financially independent, no financial investors, no debts, running off our own cash, we can make our own decisions the way we want to make them. We can respond fast. We can invest in things without having to go through tedious committees. We can put in new projects, we can take out projects, but we like our independence. And we like the fact that we have a brain behind the business. We do like to show Chizzy off a bit, even though he hates it. But as a CEO, I'm responsible to some shareholders, and so we are results-oriented. The results is not just financial results, which I'm happy to say is also going very well, but also I think all of our team members on the development side care about the end result of the projects. They care whether they're on time. They care whether it's quality. So those are really just the key points that I wanted to just bring to you about the company as the core values. We haven't really spoken about that much. And so if you're looking, some of you here are long-term customers. You probably know all this. You felt it. You've experienced it, and hopefully share that with others. Some of you are academics, for which it may be less important, but still, it's nice to know that you're dealing with people who have, I think, a certain amount of integrity. Some of you are considering working with us, haven't made that leap yet. This is something that goes into the RFP proposals up to top management in terms of what do we know about the company, an issue that we didn't used to care too much about, but we do now. So I just want to share that with you. Really, it's about how I feel about the business, and hopefully you do too. Which leads me to the last point. I have not really understood this robot chemistry business, but I think it is quite a cool logo, and the robot and the girl, and Alex got very excited about it, so so I put it up. But the robot chemistry monster says thank you all for coming. My usual special thanks to the speakers for taking the time, first of all, to prepare the talks and then to come here and deliver them. Absolutely appreciated. Makes this user group what it is, because if it wasn't you guys speaking, it would be a ChemAxon meeting only. Thank you also to my guys for putting the effort in. Takes a lot of time out of the developers' days to put forward the presentations and make them available to you and to share them with you. But of course, thanks everyone for coming. I think Tim did a little show of hands yesterday who came from where, and there's quite a diverse group. We know that budgets are tight, and we know that you've got a lot of other things to do, so we always appreciate when you come here. So thank you very much, and we do hope that we'll see you either in, actually that should be the other way around, because the next one will be in Budapest. Budapest is our hometown, and that's where we have our European user group meeting every year, and that will be in probably end of May, I suppose, and it's usually end of May, early June. That is a great show, and if you're wondering why you would go to a European user group meeting when there's one in the US, the real big difference is you can come and see us in our own home, and you can meet the much wider group of all our developers. There's quite a lot of us here now, but the whole team is available to you then if you really want to do that. And Budapest is a beautiful location, it's a lovely city, and we usually do something very special. However, if you're not able to do that, there is Boston, a little bit less exciting, but I think we've got some interesting plans for that. So Boston will be about this time next year. So hopefully look forward to seeing all of you at one of those events in the near future or in your places of work if we get around there. Thanks very much.